right. Happy New Year and good morning, Burt and Mike. How are we today?
It's 2026.
We're fired up, right?
I couldn't be more excited about what 26 looks like. I mean, 25
Likewise.
was a rocker. And I think it just sets us up for 26. I think 26 is going to be so much fun. Yeah.
So I've been so excited about this one for a year now because we did this a year ago, Burt. We talked about 24. And I think we were pretty upfront about our expectations that 25 was going to be a monster year. There was so much wind in our sails, and it's going to be fun today talking now about what went right and how we got there. Because by any measure, this was not just a record-setting year, like doubling up of any sort of record-setting year for us.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. And I believe that on this podcast a year ago, you asked me, what's the prediction for 25? And I said, we would do more M&A transactions than anyone in the industry. And man, that came true. So I think next time you need to ask me who's going to win the Super Bowl. And that way we can all go bet on that one.
That's right. Or lotto numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a soothsayer.
So before we get going, I have to do a little bit of shameless promotion for my partner in crime here. Mike just recently got a promotion, Senior Vice President of M&A. I couldn't be prouder to do this with you every month, Mike, and work alongside you. It is the most well-deserving. You're an absolute rock star, man.
I appreciate that. Wouldn't want to do it anywhere else besides Carson. This has been a blast, and it's just going to continue. And I think a lot of the things we talk about today, especially just like success of last year and all the things we're building and all the new offerings we have that we meet advisors where they're at, like that fires me up every day. And so I think as we look to this next year and adding in even more capabilities and more ways to do successful deals with advisors, that's what gets me excited every morning. And so thank you. I appreciate it, and this is gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun going into 2026.
All right, so let's dig into 25 and recap. So 23 deals. We had a Michael Jordan year. That is a mix of investing in our partners and brand new folks coming onto the Carson platform through an acquisition. I think anybody I've seen, whether it's Marshberry, Echelon, we tend to rank number one on most of those leaderboards. So, Burt, I'm going to start with, I just want your insight on what made that possible and why was it not just a monster year, but I think it far exceeded even the three of our expectations on where we came in.
Yeah, it really was a monster year. And I think the reasons to go into it, Michael, is a couple things. Number one, we not only had a record year in existing partners that wanted to make Carson their forever home, but also new partners that wanted to come and be a part of this community. And I think to some degree, they're similar in what they were looking for. They're looking for a place that is going to elevate them and be able to help them be able to take their legacy and their amazing business and take it to a level that they could only dream of. The biggest compliment to me is when a partner comes on as a 1099, is here for a while and then says, I never want to leave. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the place. I could go any place. I could go anywhere in the world. And this is the only place I want to be for the rest of my career and for the legacy of my firm. That is one of the very greatest compliments you can get. And as we go and try to drive that level of engagement and excitement and community, what happens is it trickles out to the rest of the environment because everybody else wants to be a part of that too. They're looking for something that is bigger than their firm in whatever town they're in, a community that they're serving, is they want to be a part of something bigger. And I think that's what we've really created. We've created an environment where people can be a part of something bigger. And then I think the second thing that I'd just say on this is we actually internally, 23 transactions is really great. What's more great is that we added 650 amazing, talented people to our organization. That's what's more great. We actually are counting the talent. It's where you started with this amazing talent in Mike Wieger, right? We also added 650 Mike Wiegers to our organization in cities all over the country, from Alaska to Cincinnati and everywhere in between. And that is what matters most. And I think when you treat these firms not as transactions, but you treat them as talent, what happens is it resets the viewpoint as to what they want to be a part of. And I think it's created this magnet, this draw, this lighthouse for people to want to kind of enjoy Carson.
And so we actually just had this conversation yesterday. We had a management call with a new opportunity, really attractive firm in the Northeast. I sure hope they choose Carson as that forever home. But a large part of that conversation was around talent management. And they were drawn to the fact that they had heard Mike and I talk about this in previous episodes where, Tina from Brian Sweet's office is now on our integration team and helping to lead the efforts to bring these high-powered offices into the family through a transition and an integration. And the fact that we've got our folks from Total Wealth that are going to join our technology team at some point. So it's having a place to thrive, not just for the advisor, but getting that lift for their team also, and having access to that wider community.
Totally. I couldn't agree with that more. And I think the other part of this, Michael and Mike, I think it both should be Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like
there's no way.
No
way.
Eminem? I don't know.
Eminem we've used.
Yes, Eminem, Mike and Mike in the morning. There's so many things we could do,
I really think there's more. I think we got to work on that in 26.
It's to make sure that there's some delineation in personality and name. It's otherwise we both have facial hair. Mike has way better hair than I do, but other than that, it's a way to separate us.
Michael, let's just be clear. Okay, look. You and I are both we're up there in age. And we look at Mike and
there's a little more white in this.
Yeah, we both want to say, oh, yeah, we kind of look like Mike. Hey, I think we could be. We don't. Okay, we don't.
No, I know.
But we want. No. So what I was going to say is one other thing I think that's really interesting is that we've been able to thread the needle between having firms be able to come and be able to get help with scale and be able to get help with productivity and all the stuff that we brought, but at the same time protect independence and their culture. And this is where a lot of places have missed. Even the firms that used to be known to protect independence, one of them just sold. Another one is gotten so big that they can't even protect independence anymore. What's happening is that we have this ability to thread the needle and do both. That allows firms to be able to keep the amazing culture that they have, the amazing team out of Anchorage and Alaska and the Shalansky team. Their culture is unbelievable, and they're going to keep that culture. But at the same time, be able to tap into scale and all the other stuff that comes with it. At most other firms, it's a trade-off. If I want more scale and productivity and efficiencies and community and all that stuff, I've got to trade that for my ability to have my culture and my independence and all that stuff, but not here. And I think that story has really resonated. And we want to be the protectors of some of that independence. Everyone else wants to sort of cash it in. No one wants to talk about it anymore. But it's important because what these firms have built is something really special in Cincinnati and in Baton Rouge and in Hartford and in Denver and all the other places. You build something really special with your clients. And what we want to do first and foremost is to protect that. And not only protect it, but invest in it so that it will be there forever. But then at the same time, be able to bring the scale and the efficiencies and the productivity that you need to be able to be successful. And I think that's been a real secret weapon for us that we really haven't talked a lot about, but I think people naturally feel it, that you can be independent, but get the benefit of scale and productivity and all the stuff that you're seeking at a firm like ours, which I think has been really hard to achieve. That's why no one tries to do it. But we've really sort of threaded that needle, and I'm super proud of that. And I think it's really helped.
Well, I think, Burt, to highlight that point, I was just on a call with an advisor group that just joined us last year, and the terminology they were even using on that call, because what they were talking about, another thing that I want to highlight about us is the talent play is so huge. And you mentioned that earlier, the talent that we're bringing on through these acquisitions. But the talent alongside, these firms are doing things in a really cool way. And there are bits and pieces of that as they come on that we look at and we're like, man, show us how you do that. It's really cool. And they teach us, and we might implement that for the broader group. And that's what this group was talking about. There was something they wanted to implement, but they were using the word we. And they said, if we want to be the best in wealth management, if we want to be this, we should think about going in X direction. And they're like, as a stakeholder, and it wasn't you guys should do this, you guys should implement this, and you guys should change. It was, man, we should really think about ... And they had a lot of different recommendations. And I think just that mindset that they had of they still have their great team culture, but now we are a team and we can make these changes together, and they have some ideas and they have the talent to help us do that. That said a lot. And especially when they'd only been here for, counted on how many hands days, right? So they've been here for just a few weeks and they're already thinking that way. I think it kind of highlights, to your point, that mentality that these firms are having when they join in.
Yeah, I love that.
Mike, it fits. That's the impetus behind the RIA advisory space, right? We're gonna sit on the exact same side of the table as our clients, and their best interest is my best interest, and likewise. And we're seeing that now with the team we're building. One of my favorite parts about completing a transaction is being able to go to Excel or Partner Summit and talk to some of these really successful entrepreneurs and saying, we're teammates now. We are on the same side of the table. Like, we are both invested in making sure you are delivering the best possible financial advice to your clients, which are our clients. Like, we are all in this together, building something unique and special.
Yeah. They get the scale, right, and the expertise of joining a firm, but they still have the voice and the ability to make an impact on that together.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
So it's built, and sometimes you lose one of the two of those. Either you're not getting the scale and efficiencies, but man, you do get to make a big impact and you're in the important conversations. But getting both to where you're able to impact both sides of that, I think, is the unique thing that the advisors are experiencing as they come in the door.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they're seeing it on both sides too. Because Burt, you talked right at the start about just this community that we're building. It's I think it's important to note momentum and how impactful that's been. I mean, I remember 2-3 years ago having one of the first owner meetings at our Partner Summit, and folks that are shareholders of Carson would participate in this meeting. And when they walk out those doors, the level of excitement that they have, Mike, I think you've talked about Partner Summit being your Super Bowl. I mean, people are fired up because they see the results we're delivering for our shareholders, which is our private equity partner, ourselves, and our advisors. And they want to participate, which has just led to tremendous momentum on the internal side. And now we sort of have that on the external banker-led or new to Carson side, where we go into one of these partner summits or these Excels, and there's a whole sort of club within the club now of owners that are approaching you or I saying, hey, what's next and how do we help? What conversations do you need us to have to make sure that we are all in this together and that we're building something special? Yeah. And I don't know that was necessarily true 3 years ago. So that is, it's so energizing coming out of one of those meetings.
Yeah, no, gosh, I couldn't agree more. And we have a partner summit coming up here in February, and couldn't be more excited. We have advisory council at the same time. In fact, we're so excited about it that we moved our board meeting to actually go to Partner Summit. We're taking it on the road. Okay, it's always in Omaha. We're taking it on the road to San Diego, and we're going to end up having our board meeting there at Partner Summit because that's the energy. I mean, the energy, and to have that sitting around with all those advisors there, it's super exciting. The community and so forth. And one other thing on this, I think people miss sometimes that what everybody knows is that the biggest investment that you have is your business. And you're super accountable for the growth and all that opportunity. But I think people miss that they could actually elevate the return and the impact and the joy in the community by actually by being responsible for the growth and all the stuff that comes with your business, but by exchanging equity with a firm like ours that is growing faster, more predictably, with other folks, and be able to utilize the equity that you have to the highest purpose. If this is your greatest investment, are you putting your greatest investment in the place to get the highest impact and the highest return?
Amen.
And sometimes in the old days or with many places, it is, I've got to do it myself. And I've got to be able to have this RIA myself, and I've got to do this myself. I have one transaction, and that's what I'm dealing towards. But that's not the best way to invest, to be honest. The best way to invest is to go out and partner with a whole lot of folks that think just like you. Pull all of that together and say, we're going to be a part of an organization that's going to end up to kick some booty, have some fun, and drive great returns. And we can do more together than I can by myself in my individual town with my 3 or 4 people. I could combine with all these 650 other folks that are new to our organization and say, let's go out and rule and serve and build a community and do something amazing. And that is what people are missing, Michael and Mike, is that I think people think that the best way to go about this is I got to create as much enterprise value for my firm, and I have to then go and sell it at the right moment, to the right place, at the right time, and that's the wrong way to think about it.
I totally agree.
That as an equity, as investments, and how do you get the most out of it? Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. I'm always telling folks, when you are a sole practitioner or part of a partnership, or even a really successful ensemble practice, all the growth is really being driven by the producers inside of your 4 walls. And all return on that equity is coming from inside those 4 walls. You can come to a firm like Carson, and now you are putting Mike and I to work on your behalf to grow your equity through M&A transactions. We're putting Greg Johnson and the business development team to work on your behalf by recruiting new 1099 advisors to join the platform. And you're gaining access to all of the other shareholders that are advisors of ours that are growing much faster than the industry average. You get the Debbie Taylors and the Russ Nealons and the Micah Shalanskys, and they are all working on your behalf because you are participating in what we are building together. It's diversification, not only at its best, but at its core. And I think folks are starting to wisen up to that a little bit. They're not just seeing this, Burt, to your point of, I gotta time this just right, and then I'm out, and there is no value creation after that. Right. It couldn't be further from the truth. We want every one of our new stakeholders that are joining through a transaction to be incentivized through value creation and holding equity in us. And by doing so, they are also participating in the upside and what we're building together.
I love it. Totally. I couldn't agree with that more. And so I just think that people need to think about their firm and are they getting the most out of it? And to be able to be a part of a community like ours, it just really, it's going to elevate. And so I love that idea. And I just wish people would do more of it. But those people that get that, the other part of this, Michael, one of the things I loved so much last year. So there were 15 firms that won their very largest client last year. We rolled out a private client group, and I'm sure you guys have talked about that in other podcasts.
Yeah.
Heard you guys talk about it. Well, what's exciting about that is almost half of those were advisors working together, because what they found was I had a prospect, but the prospect was in someplace else, or I needed help on this, and I'm going to go in together. And that's what happens in this community. Odds are when you come and visit us in Omaha and you do a home office visit and you come and see all the amazing parts here, you're also going to meet some advisors. Those advisors are here not to sell you, but to welcome you, because they want you a part of this community. They're excited for you to be a part of this community. And guess what? You'll do the same when you join us, because you're going to be excited to welcome other people.
Yeah.
And what happens is that we are creating this environment, this community that we end up governing, that we end up protecting, that we end up nurturing. And that's what's fun. I mean, I want my last chapter. This is my last job, right? Like after this, I'm going to fly fishing, and hopefully that's way down the road. But the reality is I want this to be my favorite one. Mm-hmm. I want this to be my favorite one. I want my last few years, however long they are, I want them to be my favorite ones. My fear that for many advisors, they're not. Because what they know is, I've got to be able to just do everything I can to get to this end zone. And I've got one transaction, I got one Hail Mary, I've got one time frame, and the pressure and the struggle and the stress. And why are you doing that? Like why are you doing that? Come be a part of a team sport that allows us to be able to go out, have fun, kick some butt, and do this together and make your last chapter your favorite and your best chapter.
Yeah.
That's what we're putting together.
Yeah, and I love sort of joking with advisors like, hey, you choose this as your forever home. There's a real chance that through either that HOV or just by talking to some of our existing advisors, you might be meeting a future best friend. And it sounds schlocky, but it's absolutely true. When, just as an example, we right before the holidays, I hosted my team here in Omaha. We celebrated a terrific year. We went out to dinner. We see Paul West come into the restaurant, one of our very best advisors and a board member, somebody I've known actually my entire working career. I've known him, 21, 22 years. I see Paul walk by, goes into this back room. He's having a dinner after we chat with him. And then a few minutes later, we see Michael Gold, one of our other advisors, walk in. He was here in Omaha to attend an event for Paul. And seeing these connections build and this willingness to help each other close business is unlike any IBD environment I ever came out of. There was always this protective, I'm going to do what I do, and I might give you some advice, but I'm going to try and beat you on the leaderboard every single year. You just don't see that here, where there is more of a focus on the shared community. And when there is a friendship and a personal relationship, I think it's a lot harder to just be cutthroat competitive with those same people. It's fun.
And that's no fun.
Yeah.
That's no fun. And Michael, we even changed the way we are doing our conferences this year. Okay, so we used to have these big conferences and everyone was there. By the way, we invited people outside of our community. And you know what our community said was, why are you inviting these people from outside of our community?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
let's make this like just us. So that was the first thing we did. And then secondly is now we're splitting these events up to be more smaller and more intimate, and allows us to go to smaller, more intimate places and to be able to get this community together more often. And we're going to be in Big Sky, Montana. We're going to be in San Diego. These other places that are just going to be so exciting this year. Why? Because that's what our community wants. Our community wants to get together and be able to share best ideas and to celebrate and to grow. And it just gets back to what that culture that we're building is. And so I just couldn't agree with it more. And seek that out now, right? Like independence doesn't have to mean alone. Independence doesn't have to mean you have to do it yourself. The best returns on your investment doesn't mean that it has to lie on just your back. Join forces with a team of people that are all in it together, and then see what happens. For those that get that story, and we've had so many, we had 23 last year that got that story. For those that begin to get that story, what they realize is not only is it the better way to do it, but it allows them to make their last chapter their favorite chapter.
Yeah.
Too many people dread going into work. Too many people have the stress on their shoulders. And let's face it, there's enough stress already with the markets and all the stuff that's going on, and clients are, their life events are happening all over the place. There's enough of that already. Like, why do you have to go and, put this other stuff on it to make it so that, you have to sort of hold your nose to walk in to kind of get that done? Have your last chapter be your favorite one. Love your business again. Love what you do again, and be a part of a team sport that's going to go out and kick everybody's butt. Just so much fun.
And that's such an important piece, I think, too, because one of the benefits of M&A being such a popular topic in our industry now is that there's so much good data and education out there that advisors can consume and learn about the process and learn about how valuations work and learn about EBITDA and what are multiples out there. But one of the downsides, I just heard an advisor tell me this last week, and to your point, Burt, on enjoying your last phase of this, they said, I have consumed so much of that data that every decision I make now, like in my head is, oh, did I just decrease my valuation? Should I invest in that because, oh, now my valuation went down, even though they are nowhere close to doing a transaction. It doesn't matter. But now they're kind of crippled a little bit in their decision making. They're not being as free with their decisions. And that was kind of their superpower before, was being very free and trusting their gut and going with it. So I think to your point, one of the data points we saw last year was our average age of our advisor doing a transaction, at least on the existing side, was far lower than it used to have been.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of
board,
advisors are seeing your point, Burt, on I want to enjoy that last chapter. And so everything you guys just hit on, hey, I can still benefit from the growth of the equity side. I can go back to doing what's fun. I can be with a group of people that I really enjoy doing it with. Oh, and by the way, I'm not crippled with every decision anymore on is my valuation going up or down. I do what I love to do. And my team goes back to having fun. And I'm no longer concerned about that big number at the end. I know that that's doing well, right? Because I chose the right investment, to your point. And that's been such a critical conversation that I just keep hearing over and over. So I think framing it like you did, Burt, with just the enjoying that last phase is extremely important when you're hearing how these conversations are going.
Well, and Mike, one other thing on top of that, right? So yes, 100% on all that, right? But there's also a money aspect to this. Okay?
Yeah.
And this is what people miss.
Yep.
For the last so 60, right now, about 60% of our assets and of our revenue comes from 1099. We're about balanced. We were tilted, towards more 1099 3 years ago. Over the last 3 years, across all those partners, hundreds and hundreds of them, not a single one in any of the last 3 years did their enterprise value grow more than ours. Now just think about that for a second. 300 1099 firms that are the best in the industry, okay, that are tapping into all those amazing resources at Carson and are growing crazily and doing amazing. For 3 years in a row, not a single one of them's enterprise value grew faster than the equity of Carson. Holy smokes. So what does that tell you? Why are you doing this by yourself?
Right.
Okay. And it's like, well, okay. So the interesting part is that if you're going to end up taking the entire wheelbarrow and having to carry the wheelbarrow all the way up the hill by yourself every single day for all of that, you should get a premium for that, y'all. Like that should be like, okay, why am I doing this? Is because I'm going to make twice as much, but you're not.
No.
That's the lie. The lie is that you're going to make twice as, you're not. So what's happening is you are actually taking a discount on on not the enterprise value, but the equity value of you and your team. Okay, so you are reducing the amount of equity value on your team in exchange for being less happy, doing more work, and doing it yourself. What is
a bad deal?
It's a bad deal.
Yeah.
If your clients came to you and said, hey, I got this idea, I'm going to invest in something that returns less and I'm less happy, you would tell them you're out of your mind.
Exactly.
Okay? And I just think people miss that. Okay, people miss the fact that what is more powerful than you being able to carry the wheelbarrow by yourself is that you join forces with a whole bunch of other people that are equally in the same boat as you, and everyone is rowing to try to drive as much value for everybody. And when that happens, holy smokes, you end up going really far. It is the Peloton approach. You could try to be out and beat the Peloton, good luck, okay?
Right.
Like, good luck, okay? There might be one or two, but good luck. For the vast majority, be a part of a Peloton and make it go so fast. That is how you go far and have fun. And I just think people miss it. The other part of this, y'all, sorry, get off.
No, this is great.
Thing, is that I actually feel like there are firms that are out there that have actually underlined that, okay? Because there are firms that have gone out, traded equity, gone with a firm. That firm has not managed it well, has not built a community well. And what happened was it reinforced, I got to do this myself. It's a risk for me to do it. Or it was a part of a firm and then they sold to another firm and ended up someplace else, or they're all owned by PE and all this other stuff. And before you know it, I don't understand the culture. That ain't here. Okay. When you look at either past advisors or current advisors, the combination of current and past advisors own roughly 70% of our firm. Our firm is 30% PE. The rest of it is people that either are advisors now or were. Yep. That's it. That's who it is. That's who it is. Guess what? When that happens, you kick butt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you reverse that and go to a firm with 75% PE and 25% advisors. Yeah, I'd keep your equity yourself. That's what I'd do. If I was you, that's what I'd do. But the reverse, different story. And that's what we're building here. And this is what's so powerful. And I just couldn't be more excited. Mm-hmm. And I try to tell that story as much as I possibly can. I just try to. And for people that get it, not only are they making more enterprise value for them and their team, but they're having more fun. And we only got one life here, y'all. We're going to do this for a while. Let's go do it. Let's have some fun. Let's make some money.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, we have one spin on this globe. Life is way too short not to work with people you don't like and you don't trust. And Omani, talked a lot about just the conviction comes through when you have conversations with people. And I think certainly for the three of us on our call, but also for everybody that sits behind us, especially when an advisor visits us in Omaha and talks to the Lisa Van Arsdales or talks to the Leanne Balls or whoever it might be, they see every bit of that conviction. And I always hear that feedback. It's not just you were buying or Burt that we're buying. It's once I get to Omaha, everybody behind you guys is also impressive and fired up and believes in the mission. And that's certainly true with our advisor force as well. There is no greater advocate for us than folks that have already joined us and already transacted and are now holding Carson equity.
Amen to that.
What makes me proud, Michael, I think too, is so we just talked about this amazing solution that we have. And you have advisors out there that sounds fantastic, right? Sign me up. What we've done in the past, especially 2 years and going into this year, is so that is the solution. We've made that accessible for more and more types of advisors. What I mean by that is, that's this solution we're talking about is not just for the $1 billion firm that has built it and they have, 10 advisors and they've got the fantastic, perfect operations team. It's not just for them, right? This is for, are you a $250 million advisor? Maybe there's two of you and you're running a pretty good shop and maybe one needs to retire and you've been looking for how do we do that liquidity event for that one advisor. Are you a solo advisor and you're looking to, hey, I haven't built that G2 out. What's my solution? Is there a team I can plug into? Is there a group at Carson that I can come to, participate in this great solution you're talking about and see a lot of scale and join a group? Yes, right? Am I the type of person that want to try before I buy, right? Maybe I'm not ready to sell on the front end. Can I come and join this fun group, participate in the community and decide to do that in the future? Yes, right? So what we've done is we've just broadened our horizons with different deal types and structures, different ways you can come join it. It's not just for the select few. And that's one thing I'm super proud about. And we keep making that better and better every single year. And so those solutions for whatever type of advisor is out there looking, odds are we've got a solution there for it.
Yeah.
And that's something that, having been here since we were 3 billion of AUM and now we're over 50, it's been fun to see that expansion of that offering.
Burt talked about the secret weapon earlier, and I know this is going to sound pedantic. We have lots of secret weapons, but that's also one of our secret weapons, right?
Yes.
If you bucket everybody into two reasons they transact, it's the more common or historical approach is succession. I'm going to retire and I need to sell my business and I'm out. That is actually very little of what we do. What we do far more of is what Burt's talking about. It's the capacity play. I want to grow. I want to make this chapter my best chapter ever. I want to provide uplift for every one of my clients for better services and offerings and a better career pathing solution for my stakeholders. And I want to participate in equity upside that I can't get on my own. So blow down those walls for me and help me be the best advisor I can possibly be. Now, what's really fun is exactly what you're talking about, Mike. It's both sometimes. There are these really attractive ensemble teams where 2 or 3 are looking for succession. There are great G2 or G3 talent that are not ready to slow down. They're looking to accelerate. And we can step in and create a monetization event for the founders while also creating an equity event for G2 and G3 and meaningful career upside for the rest of the operations staff. That is a win-win-win-win. I mean, it's a cliche, but we are solving for every one of those problems because, frankly, we've seen all of those multiple times in the past. None of this is new for us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we're a place where you can come and you can be $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion firm, and you can come and thrive and continue to grow and grow faster than you were, right? And have that equity piece as well. You know what we also need? We're also going to need the talented advisors that are going to come in and say, I've been doing this on my own, and we're going to need to put those into a lot of these deals that we've already done for when those advisors do want to retire, right? So if you're out there solo now, we're going to need those really talented advisors and those individuals. We're going to go find them. So we're going to need it all, right? So no matter what stage of your firm life cycle you're in, there's going to be a solution here that's going to work out really well, no matter what phase you're in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Gosh, I couldn't agree more. I could listen to you guys all day. I do. I get to listen to you guys all day.
I can't, it's not fair to say you're forced to listen to us all day, but we're all a captive audience together.
But I love it. And it's interesting because number one, we do know there are two areas that are just really hard to break through. The first area is when you get to that sort of 150 to 300 range, right? You built a firm of 1 or 2 or 3 advisors and you got a team. But now to sort of take that and go through that is super hard. It's why the vast majority of advisors sort of end up right about there, right? And then the next one happens right around 600 to 800. About roughly 50% of RIAs, traditional RIAs, get to 500 million. Only 5%, actually 4%, get to $1 billion. Mm-hmm. So that is so hard to get through. And why is that? Because you're managing a huge organization with a big team and maybe multiple locations and all the stuff that comes with it. And this is where being a part of something with scale, but you able to protect your legacy, your culture, your talent, your team, and all the stuff that comes with it, is where our superpower comes through. And so I absolutely think that is super key. I would tell you that, I'm now almost 4 years here at Carson, and I remember the very first day that I came in, I said that the one thing I thought we were too rigid. We were rigid in our investment platform, we were rigid in the way we built things, we were rigid. Today, the thing we do better than anybody else is our flexibility to solve problems for you.
100%.
100%. That is the number one thing we did. So when we came in and said, this is our biggest issue, is that we were so rigid, we are going to create an environment where that becomes the number one thing we can solve for. And I will just tell you that what has happened, the reason why 23 firms joined us, a biggest reason is because we were more creative and more flexible in how we could do something that created an environment that protected what was most important to them. And for some of them, it was, their culture. For some of them, it was their talent. And for some of them, it was their time. And for us, whatever it was, we could find what was most important for them, and we could build a solution to protect it and magnify it. And that ultimately is the most important thing. And I would argue that if we could continue to do that, which is what our focus is, we will find the right solution for every one of you, to your point, Mike. And we've got that for you, because we don't have, people ask, like, what's your model or what is your thing? We don't have one. Our model is to make you happy. Okay? Yeah. Like, let us help you be successful. That's it. We can figure out a way to do that. And that's our joy, and that's our success. Yeah.
Yeah, I was having a dinner not long ago with one of our advisors, and he made the comment. He said, "I realized quickly that this was the place where entrepreneurs go."
Yeah.
And it wasn't. All advisors are entrepreneurs, but his point was not. It was not that there are not other firms that support entrepreneurs. His point was that at a lot of those other firms, you are selling your entrepreneurship. You are exchanging that, to your point, for the name tag and the firm name that is going to be rigid and give you the playbook and maybe suck some of that entrepreneurial soul out of what made you great to begin with. And for some advisors, that's okay. That's what they're looking for. That's what they want. What we want is those folks that are fiercely independent and want to protect that, but are fully recognizing that there are better tactics to get to where they want to go. And they want to tap into the things that we do better, like help them manage a business or help them put together unique investment portfolios, whatever it might be, help them grow and transact, Mike, with other advisors. But they want to keep that culture unique, and they want to still feel like there's local leadership. Burt, I used your line just yesterday too, just the idea that the best decisions are made closest to the client. Always. And that resonates like crazy when we're having a conversation with advisors.
Always. And I think the other thing that it's echoing in my head that Mike said earlier, and he talked about meet you where you are and wherever you are, and if you want to try before you buy, I think is what you said, or whatever. The 1099 partner business for us is strategic, okay, for many reasons. I'll just go and say this. I'm not sure I would ever go to a firm that only does W-2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that firm is built to own you. And whenever that is in its charter, ultimately you lose. We, on the opposite side, our heritage, our DNA is on 1099. It is every day we will serve you. We were built to serve you. Other firms are built to own you. And that is very different. And keeping that is so strategically important for us. It makes sure that we deliver amazing service. It makes sure that we are flexible to what people need. It makes sure that we are open architecture as it relates to things like tech and investments and all the stuff that comes with it. Like, all these things are vital, and we get that. What polices that, what guards that, is this 1099 business where every single one of them are on one-day contracts with us.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And when you do that, you end up in a really great place. And so this multi-OR approach to us is more than just great business. It allows us to give great service, and it puts us and polices us and guards us that make sure our charter is not to buy firms. It is to partner with them. It is not to own firms. It is to serve them. And it's why we call everybody partners, right? Because they are, every one of them. And it's super crucial. So I love what you said, Mike. I don't want anyone to ever think that 1099 is not the key. That is, to be honest, the battery that guides us to where we're headed.
Yeah.
But what happens is that when you're great at that, people never want to leave it.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is that is what leads to acquisitions and making this your permanent home and all the stuff that comes with it. And so we are I just think we're so blessed. And I know why firms do one or the other, because it's hard to do both. It is hard to do both, right? It is. It's easier to just buy companies and be able to focus on synergies and all the other stuff that they do. It's easier to do that. It's harder to police independence, and it's hard to earn it every day. But what it does is it makes you a better company, and it's more fun, and it makes your superpower flexibility. And that's why we're winning. And I just think that that's the key.
Yeah, and as a shareholder, there are all sorts of economic reasons why that makes a ton of sense too. Having lower debt leverage and knowing that we run a conservative balance sheet, and that because we all know when the market does get choppy and some of our competitors have to pull back or cease transactions, we will, to quote a famous Omaha native here, be able to be a little bit greedy when other people are fearful. And I love that. I love knowing that we're in this for the long haul. This isn't a 3-year strategy. This isn't a 5-year strategy. This is our 100-year strategy. We will be around serving 1099 independent advisors and also be a solution for those seeking W-2.
Amen. And not only that, let's just you will never join a firm and wake up one day and end up someplace you didn't choose.
Right.
That's the other one. Half of advisors in our industry at some point in time ended up to be at another place. Look, this isn't the NFL. We're not trading people. Like, what? That is essentially, that's what's happening. I joined this team. I love the culture. The locker room's great. The restaurant down the street. Before you know it, you're traded to Seattle. It's raining all the time. And it's like, what's happening here?
Could you imagine? We'd do a whole episode on like a mock draft. Like, all right.
Exactly.
Like,
and so here we are in a completely different place. I mean, you know, there's a few questions I would always ask. And, you know, as I'm thinking about the right partner, right? One of them you hit, right? It is debt. Okay, look, the reality is if you are north of 5 or 6 times leverage, you are joining a firm that is at risk. Period. Flat out, the end. There's no other way to say it any other way. Okay?
That's absolutely right.
They are over levered, not for good times, but for tough times. And they will come. And when they come, it will be hard. The second thing I would always ask is who owns the company. And if the number is 50% to be those that view you as a short-term monetary opportunity, then you are at the wrong firm. And then the third is for the people that have been around and have exchanged equity, what have been their experience and their returns? And would they have been better off to have their own firm and be able to keep it themselves? And if you have those 3 questions and you find a firm that has lower debt ratios, by the way, we're like 3, you know, 3 point something. We're half of what everyone else is. Number 2 is we are owned by current and past advisors. So it owns us as 70% of our company. And third is the returns. Every single one of those that have taken equity of Carson have done better than they did when they were when they had their own firm. Doesn't mean that's fine if you want to be a 1099B here. God bless you. Like, we love you. We need you here. That you keep us honest and guarded and all the stuff we talked about. But at the same time, if you are looking on maximizing the ability for you and your team with equity, it's that. So those are the 3 things I'm always asking. And I'll just tell you, A+, A+, A+ here at Carson for every one of those 3 things.
yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about 26. And it's unbelievable that it's here now. So let's chat a little bit on what do we see next? Where is this going? I think and Mike, you too, we've been blatant and obvious in saying that we think there's a 10 to 15 year bull market for M&A. Demographics alone, private equity interest in the space, tailwinds on people wising up to the recurring revenue model, like just all sorts of things. And I think also just the fact that we've had such a great market for a long time, it's really easy if you're an owner to sit on the sidelines and see your EBITDA go up every year and your valuation go up every year. And even when you should have done something, it's easy I'll just sit back another quarter, make another $1 million. Now they're short-sighted, to your point, Burt, by not taking equity in a faster growing firm. But I do think that if there is some churn or some unrest, we don't as a firm see that for 26. But if there was, we do see even more supply coming to the market. And I think the demand is going to change a little bit too, because we are starting to see this market shake out into the larger, more successful firms that have done more than a handful of acquisitions. And then also the smaller firms that are maybe doing book to book or advisor to advisor acquisitions. We talk about all kinds of things, but I just want to get your take first, Burt. Where do you see this going, at least for the next year?
Yeah.
Because we're doing this in January 27, by the way.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, what I'm excited most is I'm going to become a grandparent. Okay, let's just huddle on this one for a second.
No
right
kidding.
Now, as we're recording this in January, I'm a month away. The next time I see my oldest kid, she is going to have a little one, and I'm over the moon on that. Like I don't even know what to do. So we just had the baby shower, and I've never been invited to a baby shower.
I was gonna, absolutely.
I got invited to this one, and oh my gosh, guys, the games they play is unbelievable. Okay, I just want to play those games all the time. All right, okay. So forecast for first of all, the entire wealth management, the entire financial services space has already consolidated. Okay, so banks have consolidated and asset managers consolidated.
Insurance firms,
Insurance firms, they all consolidated.
TAMPs, you bet.
The last remaining is closest to the client. and it's very distributed. And it is a 10 to 20 year cycle. We know that happens almost with every industry. So if you go and look at retail, a lot of things of retail is consolidated, but what's left? There's a whole lot, good bazillion small firms that are out there doing amazing things in every single city. And that's the last to consolidate into the Amazons and the Walmarts and all that kind of stuff. And thank God for all that. And so that's the last, and it takes a long time. Okay, decades and decades and decades. We are early into that transition. So that's going to continue the wins at the sales. I do think that there are some things that are creating, cross currents that are going to be more difficult for people to juggle here. One of them, I think you talked a little about, or we talked about, which is a lot of the big acquirers have been acquiring, and that's all they do. And folks, when you go out and you buy firms at 10, 11, or 12 times earnings, and those firms don't grow as much as they hope, and you borrowed money to be able to do that, and you have a lot of debt, guess what? At some point in time, you can't do that anymore. And so that ends up to not be in support of continued upward movement to valuations. And so what you're going to start to, what we're already starting to see, is a lot of these bigger firms are becoming a lot more selective. They're only participating in the bigger, fastest growing firms. And so the more moderate growing firms, the firms that frankly need the most help, the firms that want to join, and I really need to be able to get help to grow, they're the ones that might not find as many opportunities going forward because that's going to be more concentrated. So I think that's one. Another one is many of these big firms, at some point, you can't find enough PE equity to actually do that. So because of that, PE equity is moving lower in the market. Okay, so they're not as active in the really big ones. We will have $1 trillion RIA here in the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
That can't, $1 trillion RIA, I'm not even sure if there's any private equity firm that could even do that. Okay?
Exactly.
So the reality is that's going to have to potentially go to the public market. Mm-hmm. This is one of the things to be watchful of. When that goes to the public market, will that reset valuations? Mm-hmm. It could. It depends on who it is.
Could. Yeah.
It depends on who it is. So if one goes and suddenly they at the top of the market set the top end as to what valuations are, you could end up seeing this sort of, I'm always going to have multiples expand, and the longer I wait, the better I am. I think that is going to start to come to an end. Okay. Then the next part, and then I'll shut up, is that there's been a tide that has risen sort of all firms. Even if you're a non-growing firm, you have seen multiples that are paid for your business go up. My opinion is that has stopped. Mm-hmm. I believe that slower growing firms that don't have a great G2, those firms, I believe that we have already hit multiple levels that are peak. I think what you're going to continue to see is the fastest growing. So you're going to see a dispersion wider between the very fastest growing best firms, and think of those as the largest, best markets, fastest growing, best G2, highest talent. Those firms are going to continue to see more and more competitive opportunities. And I think these lower end that need help, that's going to end up being there. So if I was a firm, so what does that mean for all that? If I was a firm that was out there and thinking, oh my gosh, I got to pick the right time. I'm doing well, but maybe not as well as I'd like to. I would love to get a new partner. Man, I'd love to see us be able to be 2 or 3 or 4 times bigger, and that's when I'm going to drive it. But man, I haven't seen the growth. I think now is the time to partner with a firm like Carson, exchange your equity. We're going to end up delivering returns more than you're going to be able to deliver. But more importantly than that, we're going to put you in a community that's going to allow you to grow and be able to do amazing things for you. And now's the time to do that, in my opinion. I think that it is, if I was a firm that was in that realm of it's a struggle, it's hard, I would go and try to find those now, because I actually feel like that's going to get harder and harder and harder and harder, because the biggest firms that are debt strapped, are only going to focus on the highest growth, biggest and G2 firms. And if that's not you right now.
Because they have to. Yeah.
They have to. They have a choice.
Yep.
Right? If they only have a small amount of capacity to spend, they're going to invest it in firms that they're going to have to work to turn around. And a firm like ours, that's our specialty. That's what we do. We take firms that are 4% organic growers and we make them 10s. That's what we do. Okay. We take firms that have good G2 and we turn that good G2 into great G2. That's what we do. Like that is what we do. That's our specialty. That's our specialty. And guess what? We'll be super competitive among the bigger firms, the fastest growing. Yeah, you'll see us there too. And we're there as well. But I just think when you look at this, I think in general, this, I think what folks have done is extrapolated that what's going to happen is multiples are always going to go up, regardless of how I grow. Things are always going to be fine, and the longer I wait, the more I'm going to make.
Yeah, exactly. Trees just grow to the skies.
I just don't think that's going to happen going forward. In my personal opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there is no 40x multiple. I mean, it's and that growth component it's so key. I was talking to an advisor in the space not that long ago, and we were having a conversation around this, and they were sort of trying to sell on a firm that had no NNA growth, and in fact, it was negative. So this is the prototypical melting ice cube. And I was like, listen, if an advisor were to have a conversation with a client, and you use the term borrowing money, I like that's even a better way to phrase it. Let's say an advisor goes to a client and says, hey, I've got this great mutual fund. We're going to buy it on margin, and 10 years from now, it's going to return principal with no upside. Would you buy that mutual fund? Any client should say, you're out of your mind. Like, there's absolutely no way. It's a terrible investment. And the same thing is going to be happening to these firms that have overextended on poorly performing properties or firms that are not growing. And that's where I think you start seeing the barbelling of this industry amongst the aggregators or the integrators, where the firms that have done this and the portfolio is strong are going to have outsized resources to spend, whereas the firms that may be overextended for their first, second, or fourth acquisition and they have not performed are going to be strapped. And God forbid, market volatility, rising interest rates, churn, any of that kind of stuff just exacerbates that problem. It doesn't make it easier for those smaller firms.
Totally. And yes, and I mean, all that. I also think that there's this vantage point that if you could end up, what we're not saying, let me say this another way. What we're not saying is you shouldn't bet on yourself. You 100% should bet on yourself, but you should bet on yourself in the position that you're best served to win. Okay.
Right.
So the reality is that what we've been trained in this, the whole notion. Okay, I was at a broker dealer, and guess what? I'm RIA. I'm mostly advisory. They're treating me like a broker dealer. I can't do the marketing the way I want to. I can't serve my clients the way I want to. I got to go do RIA. And that decision was mostly because they were holding you back. Mm-hmm. It wasn't so much that this is better. I want to do more stuff. I want to do more compliance on my own. Like, nobody wants to do that. But they felt like they needed to do that, right? Okay. You're at a point now where you could actually come to a firm like ours where you could be as independent as you want to be. You could drive all the independence. You could actually exchange equity, make more money than you can if you did it yourself, have more fun, and still bet on yourself to be able to go out and kill it, have fun, drive an amazing firm, and watch your legacy continue to go. And not kill yourself for the 5 years of how on God's green earth am I going to turn around a 2% organic grower with no G2, and how am I going to do that in 5 years and sell this thing?
Right.
I wouldn't sleep at night. And there's so many people that aren't. Why are you doing this by yourself? Why are you doing this by yourself? And I think it's the reason, Michael, is that people are thinking, I've only got one shot to make this money, and I've got to get the best firm and then sell it. And this is what this sort of private equity world has been. It's like, I got to go and sell the best product. That's not always the case, y'all. It's okay to be able to go to the marketplace with maybe not your best foot, but change equity into a firm that is the best. Right. And then be able to benefit from that while you continue to make your firm better and better. And it's just a better model. And I just feel like everyone feels like they have to do it themselves and then sell the best firm at the best time in the best place. I wouldn't sleep at night if I could do that. What I love about this job is that I get to do it with everyone else, right? Like I get to do this with you and with you two. I get to do this with Debbie Taylor. I get to do this with all the firms that we have a part of our partnership firm. And I know that when we do this together, what we end up with is something that is so amazingly great and fun. We all make more. We all do better. But it doesn't reduce. In fact, it increases your betting on yourself. Because here's what happens when you join a community. What it means is people are looking to you to also carry your weight. Okay? So I know when I show up to this podcast, if I don't bring it, if I haven't had 7 cups of coffee and all kinds of caffeine to bring it, then I'm going to look like an idiot and you guys are going to hold me accountable. And guess what happens when you join a firm and you take the equity of the company and there are 15 firms that are doubling in size and you're not? You're going to be like, guess what? Okay, I'm in this. It's amazing what happens, right? It's why you lose more weight when you go to the gym and you see everybody else and they're motivating you than if you're trying to figure out how am I going to go downstairs and work out on the Peloton by myself, right? And imagine that as a part of your business. That's what you're in. And so it just, to me, being a part of this bigger community and not trying to be perfect. Don't think about trying to get this thing perfect and get the perfect thing. That's too stressful. And guess what? It'll never be perfect. It'll never be perfect. Hey, go and get something, be a part of something bigger. Let us help you make it perfect. And then let's make it so that you're a part of this rocket ship and do something great. Have some fun with this. I just think it's the right model, man.
I do too. Mike, how about you? What do you think? 26.
Yeah, my prediction is that everything we just talked about, that mentality that Burt just talked about, is going to permeate amongst the industry. And I say that because I think in all the conversations I'm having with partners, it's changing. Like the conversation and the questions and the mentality around selling their business, there just for the longest time was this idea around what it meant to sell your firm, when that should happen, how it should happen, what it should look like, at what age you should do it. And for the longest time, it was kind of a truth. And I think that's changing. I do think everything we just talked about, the mentality, is starting to become a little bit of a trend. And we saw that. I think one of the things we mentioned earlier, the average age of the advisor looking to transact being lower than it ever has been, means that it is changing, means that it's not just the norm. And I think they're starting to realize that. So I think my prediction is that for this year, the conversations, Michael, that you and I are having start to look a lot more like that than they have in the past.
I totally agree with you. So a large part of my role, right, is to be a voice of the market or have some pulse on industry intelligence. And I was talking to a banker not that long ago, and he was saying that, everything is cyclical. And if you look at the start of the M&A trend in our business, there was a lot of fear around taking equity. And a lot of that, Burt, you can appreciate this, comes from our background in the IBD space. You had these rep-owned IBDs where equity did not perform. Yep. You talk about Next or United Planters back in the day, or whoever it might be, where they were left holding something that was not the same value that they anticipated going in, and certainly didn't perform over market expectations. The trend now is a lot more around how do I get as much as possible, and what's the upper limit of the equity that I can take as part of the transaction. I mean, I'll go to Aveo Capital in Denver, one of our favorite offices, certainly one of our fastest growing. They sat in Omaha and hearing Russ Nealon talk about transacting with Carson and having access to equity as a 100% transaction was a huge motivation for them. And Sean looked over at me and goes, I want as much as he got as a percentage of the total transaction. So it's not going to happen, Sean. But, we are so excited that you want to be a part of this, and that seeing the growth creation and that value curve continue to increase is really attractive to you. Like that makes you more attractive to us as well. So I do think there's going to be more demand for that, and that mindset of participating versus just having that as supplemental is going to be more and more prevalent.
Totally. Well,
any other last? Go ahead, Burt.
Well, it's kind of self-fulfilling. We were just talking about this. People have all this debt and so forth. What happens is, because they have all this debt, people don't want that equity. What they want is just cash.
Yeah.
And then when they just take the cash, what does that do? It puts them further into debt.
Yeah,
What does that do?
exactly.
It makes their equity worth less. And then before you know it, it's self-fulfilling. And then they're in a really tough place. And I would hate to be there. And this is why I just love where we're sitting. Michael, this is the year of the Scally hat for
Hey.
You originated this. You are the OG on this. And I want you to know I've gone to
That's a great one.
it's so I've now got 8, and you probably have 38. And but this is the year, and I think at the end of the year, when we do this recap next January, hopefully, and we talk about another amazing year and all the stuff that comes with it, I think we should get Mike a hat, and I think we should
Matching flat caps.
I need to join.
do it?
I need to join this
Yeah.
group. Let's do
Come
it.
in.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you, Burt, so much. This is the one we look forward to every single year. It was so much fun doing it last year. This is even better. And I think this is going to be a continuing trend. I mean, I think this is going to be another monster year for Carson, for our advisors, and for their clients. I am so excited about the value we are generating and creating, the wealth we are creating, not just amongst that advisor force, but those clients that they serve. And I think we're going to be sitting here in 27 talking about another record year for the market and certainly for Carson.
Amen. I couldn't agree more. And Mike, congrats on your promotion and all the stuff that comes with it. You are a superstar, Michael. You are, and lions hang with lions. That's what we talk about, right? And that's
right.
Not just among talent and home office and stuff. It's even more so. If you are a lion out there and you're looking for a group of other lions that you can go out and kill it with, we don't have hyenas in our community. We just don't have them. They just don't have them. Okay, they get eaten. We hang with lions, and come hang with us. Come hang with us. So,
Agreed.
Man, ton of fun. Happy New Year, y'all, and thanks for having me.
Happy New Year, guys. Have
Thanks,
a great
Burt.
day.